Today, the fruits of my labor paid off. My friend and I finally took the road I had built to the dungeon, setting our spawns at the nearby house I had put during the road construction video, and delved into our first dungeon. As we explored it, I made the following observations. Can't dig out or destroy the walls, floors, doors, torches within the dungeon. Dark down there. When with another person, you block each other's spotting in the cramped hallways, but can effectively block and attack the enemies at the same time. Big shields are better than little shields. Ghosts are scary, and I have yet to find a stone describing how they work. Thus I'm scared and curious as to whether one exists or not. I took the liberty of measuring how long each dungeon took us to conquer, for future data purposes. I'll post the times for each dungeon as I get to them, and a compilation of both at the end. First dungeon took us 7 minutes and 50 seconds. When we came back from our exploration, we noticed we didn't have enough of the new unique materials to build the new structures available to us. The smelter that converts metal ore into ingots so that you can actually use them in crafting, and a kiln to convert wood into charcoal. No longer must I burn my meat to make signs. What glorious technology. We found and destroyed our first Grey Dwarf nest. Then I did a quick Google search, fearing that it might not respawn, much like Grey Dwarf in Minecraft. But the area seemed unique, so I think they would respawn, but they don't. Not unless you use mods, that is. So, we avoided destroying those from there on out, even though it dropped this unique thingy. While googling that, I also found out that dungeons don't auto refill after a certain amount of time, which is very unfortunate, as the whole point of the road is now meaningless unless I install a mod that refills them, which exists, from what I read. A topic for another day. Jogging around, searching for another dungeon, we found metals on the surface, tin and copper, hunted some meat, found some blueberries, and found a stone explaining how Grey Dwarfs work, which, by the way, is pretty neat. Apparently they're made of water, rocks, wood, moss, and reeds. And in accordance with the slab, ancient seeds, the special item we got from destroying the Grey Dwarf nest, since it's described as a cyst, I imagine it has a meaty outer material, probably made from the carcass of the sinner's previous host, and or the carcass of the nearby creatures, like snakes, deer, boar, trolls, and whatever other meaty creatures roamed around, were felled in the surrounding area, left there naturally or otherwise, maybe grey dwarfs. And as to how it attracts materials from the outside, oh, I have my guesses, but no concrete proof. A bit later, I find another slab, this one describing Valheim and its position in the universe. It describes Valheim as the last and most lawless of the 10 worlds. The last of the 10 worlds. Later, we finally found another dungeon, but got hungry and overwhelmed by a swarm of grey dwarfs and skeleton archers. And it was also dark, so not our fault, technically. Minutes later, under the glorious light of the sun, we decided to use the nearby ruins to build up a shelter for ourselves, and for temporary storage of the nearby huge copper vein we found. Also so that we may recuperate and buff up before going into the dungeon. Also, it would be a location of significant importance in case we ever got the mod that reset the dungeons. Oh, there's also the fact that we never really got this far into the Dark Forest before this point, which was pretty cool. In our second dungeon raid, we saw a stone that shows us the location of the Elder One. Just like the stone in the starting ritual circle that gave us the location for Ektir, I researched and found out it's called a Vegvizir. It's an Icelandic magical stave intended to help the better find their way through rough weather. Depictions of it are found in the Galdabok, a grimoire or a magical book, as a filthy peasant would say, along with 47 other spells and staves. I provided a link in the description of the video so that you may find them. They're pretty neat. After that, we cleaned up the rest of the dungeon, packed up our valuable things from the cabin, and made our way back home.
Or at least we would have, but along the way we stumbled upon a third dungeon. This one containing a skeleton spawn, more parts for the new structures, and another egg vizier. This one leading to the same Elder One position. We decided to destroy the skeleton spawner in favor of finding if it had any unique loot. It did not.
And now for your much awaited house tour. I've been teasing for 2 videos now. Our backyard was a tad too small for the smelter and kiln, but we made them fit. Favor of testing out their functionality for expanding the backyard. They were pretty slow, so more would need to be constructed at a later point in time. The burb also dropped by to give us a tutorial on how to use them. After all that, we went about sorting our inventory and shoved a few ores into the smelter. Very unfortunately, the smelter and kiln cannot be placed on anything other than solid ground, so I was unable to put them on the second floor or the third one. After all that, I showed off my super bridge. He was impressed, and coincidentally, it was also perfectly aligned in a way where we could go to next boss using it, and thus concluded our glorious cave crawling adventure for the day.
We would meet up on another day to battle the Elder One.